talking about tonight is 3D spinning and how to take yourself out of your very awesome and super fun, but incredibly linear, normal, everyday patterns that you might be doing. The first thing we were talking about is the concept of a toroid. You can think of a toroid as taking a flat two-dimensional object, like a circle, and stacking one circle on top of another, on top of another, on top of another, tracing a line. So a donut is a perfect example. A car tire is another example of a type of toroid. When you're working with a toroid, what you can imagine is that your poi is slicing the plane of the toroid in one place, and then sort of jumping from that plane to another plane that is not usually, I mean, most people don't go from here to here, that's just not what they do. It's from here to something like here, to something like here, to something like here, 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 here.
This seems really advanced.
Yeah, it is really advanced. That's why you start practicing it now. Yes, it is. Okay, so that's the toroids, and that's the concept of the toroid. Practicing is a whole other matter. Integrating is a whole other matter. But if you saw Pat's set at the expo, his whole opening sequence was a shit ton of toroids, and it was all that really cool. Like he does a toroid that's that creates a shape like this. So imagine a circle that's coming down, going this way, and then going back up that way. So he does what looks like a triangular toroid. Also, it's super geeky. I mean, there's definitely a master tutorial element to it. If you ever think about it. Okay, so that's the toroid. The second concept that I mentioned was this concept of plane breaking, where if you take your poi and you bring it and you come to a stop. So I think the example that I used with you guys was you're doing a side plane movement like this, and see how it's 0 point now, that's coming to a stop at these points. Then going from that place of being on my side plane to bring it into a horizontal plane. So I broke the plane at that 0 point, and then I could break it again in a different way. So all of these are examples of ways in which you can break the plane. Now, those are, I mean, unless you actually add more dimension to that, I sort of feel like it's kind of defeating the purpose of something. It's like, this is just cool and all, but I think it can be more effective to see the 3D element if you're doing something more like this. Right now, I'm on my side of the plane, not facing it. And then I'm going to break the plane, and I'm on my side of the plane, not facing it. Now I can just break it. But now this is like side plane, watch it break the plane, and I come toward you. Right, so it's a way that in acting we talk about the fourth wall, which is the wall between, there's a stage, you and the audience, and in acting, you don't really break the fourth wall necessarily. In this case, this is a really awesome trick that will take somebody out of your experience, and you can really direct your energy really toward the audience, going from this kind of movement to that kind of movement, really coming in toward the audience, adding an extra element of the stall coming forward and really breaking this plane right here. So that's toroids, plane breaking, plane bending. So there's plane bending is a concept where essentially the rotator is plane bending. That was the very first show that you guys had. And so you're bending the plane and you're moving from one to another. I would call this a plane shift. But you're intentionally not staying here. You're intentionally in micro increments moving across the plane. So that's a basic example, right? You could take that and come up and it could be like on any one of your actual planes. So for me, a really good example of plane bending, which is not what I would call new school tech plane bending, but this is what I would call like old school stuff. This is the kind of stuff I was doing like 10 years ago, where you're spinning your. Okay, so I'm doing 588 right now. What I'm going to do is a turnaround, which means 588. So I change that into a corkscrew now, and now I'm horizontal. shifting the plane. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But
I think I do that unintentionally and I just have bad
yes,
planes.
yes. Okay, so that's, and I started out doing it unintentionally as well. It's actually a really cool thing if you can learn how to control it, right? Because I feel like what it does for you is, especially, like your performance was a really great example, especially in performances where you're spinning in the round or you're spinning in a U, you want to be able to address the audience. But if you're in this linear thing, it's really hard to have everybody, like the person in your group never has a good angle if you're inside of a U. So you have to be able to do some sort of technique like that. Or, well, and so then this was the other part of this is, just moving in an out of the box manner, which we're going to get to. But being able to actually move through space where you're using moves like, or like the sprinkler, like just being able to do this, allows you to translate your body and make your front plane be in a different place, which is very, very useful. So there's a toroid, plane breaking, plane bending, and then the other term in this 3D spinning concept was atomics, where at the most basic level, an atomic is two planes intersecting at 90 degrees. So this is an atomic. That is an atomic, right? And the point of this is going to have to intersect, but them being on two planes that form a 90-degree angle is what makes it atomic. So, like I said before, it could very easily be, I'm following this line right here, and I'm following that line right there. I'm going to bet when you look at this video, it doesn't look like shit. I mean, it really doesn't. It's just like, okay, it's two circles. It could look like a really bad butterfly. I mean it though. This is like, a lot of these concepts are, unless you have a complete mastery of them, it's really difficult for them to translate into anything like, holy shit is going to hit himself in the face, or holy shit is she in control of what she's doing. Like, it just can look that way. I do think a really good example of an atomic, I like this, not your numbers were here. I put it up on a tech toy blog, and people were like, oh, that's not really atomic. Okay, whatever. It's two planes, or 90 degrees from it. But they're like, well, if it isn't here, then it's not atomic. Like, so this would be an atomic. This would be an atomic cap. And what I'm doing is like the sprinkler, horizontal, with a side plane, bottom cap. Right? Does that make sense? Okay, so then, I like this one. You can increase, but this is just a 4-pedal. The champ is just doing a 4-pedal anti-spin. This one's doing on that plane over there, and this one's doing on that plane over there. How I have oriented my body is to think about it as a point in the middle, and it's no longer side plane, front plane. But you can think about it that way. Like, this is the side plane, like front plane.
Yes, there we go. That's good.
Okay, so then, atomic, toroid, plane break, plane bending. Okay, then the next thing that